Chapter 9, Omaha. That was not Jude's voice. Maisie spun around just in time to see a fist knock her head back, and then everything went black. "Maisie!" screamed Zara. Before she could stand up, something pushed her to the ground, shoving her face into the dirt. A menacing male voice said, "Well, what do we have here? We don't get visitors very often." Another male voice responded, "We never get visitors this pretty either. I think we should give them a proper welcome to Wind River." Zara screamed and kicked, trying to fight off her assailant, clawing and scratching at his face and getting tangled in his long black hair. In the struggle, she got a quick glance at Maisie, who was still unconscious and having her clothes torn off by her attacker, who also had long black hair. Suddenly, Zara heard a thump, followed by a pained cry. "Ah!" After another thump, Maisie's attacker slumped over on the ground. Before she could see what happened, her assailant took a similar blow to the side of his head, and he fell to the side unconscious before he could make any sound. She looked up, and Jude stood over her with a large tree branch and his hand held out to her. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I am now," she said, panting as she stood up and wiped the dirt off her mouth. "They came out of nowhere. Go check on Maisie. I'm going to give our guests a place to sit and relax." Zara ran to Maisie, fixing her clothing, and gently put her arm under her head. As she slowly roused, Zara reassured her and helped her reorient herself. "What happened?" she groggily asked. "We were attacked," Zara explained. "This time you didn't swing." "Figures. Don't worry, Jude saved the day. He's getting to know our visitors right now," Zara said, pointing to the tree where Jude was tying up the men. "We haven't been properly introduced," Jude said in a mockingly courteous tone. "I'm Jude Kane. I'm generally a pretty nice guy, easygoing, little bit of a technical nerd, and I like to solve problems. I'm also a brother and a pretty big family guy. That means while I'm smiling, I wouldn't hesitate to gut anyone who tried to hurt a member of my family." The men grunted and squirmed, but didn't say anything. "We're on a pretty long trip. We know we're in Dakota, but that's about it. I don't think there's a real city anywhere near here, so I'm guessing you two live in a sack?" "Sack?" the smaller one said. "Ha! We've been in a sack for thousands of years." The taller one chuckled sadly. "Welcome to Wind River." "So you're Shoshone or Apache?" he asked. "You should have asked that 50 years ago." "Now no one really knows," the taller one said. Jude pulled up a stump and sat down on it. "We're Salish, or at least part Salish. We live in a sack that was on what used to be called First Nation land. Our brother got scooped up by the feds and we're trying to get him back." "The New America Defense Forces took him?" the smaller one blurted. "Good luck." "The New America isn't much different from the old one as far as we're concerned. We've been living and dying on this land for a long time," the tall one said. "The only difference is they sent us a bunch of those ugly square things to live in." "The New America government gave you cubes, but didn't require you to move to a city?" Jude asked. "Nope," they both said. "They probably figured we'd die out in a few decades. We have bad numbers. More drugs, more murders, less education, no jobs. We don't have a great reputation." "So I've seen," Jude said, crossing his arms. "I'll make you a deal." "We're listening," the taller one said. "If you take us to someone who can help us get some food and charge up our ATVs without killing us, we can forget our little misunderstanding here." "You'll cut us loose?" the short one asked. "I'll hold all the guns and knives, and you two can lead the way. We'll give everything back once we're there and I feel safe." "Okay," the older one said. "My name's Corey, and this is my little brother Curtis. My uncle is the chairman of the tribal council. I hope you keep your word to forget about, what happened." "I'm a man of my word," Jude assured him. Maisie came up and stood next to Jude, her arms crossed. "Which one of you dumbasses hit me?" she asked. Curtis looked up and then averted his eyes. As she turned his head, she saw he was bleeding from a nasty gash behind his ear. "You're bleeding pretty good," she said, sauntering up to him and looking the wound over. "I'm going to have to sew you up. If you try anything, I'll stick the needle in your eyeball." He shook his head. "You're more forgiving than I am," Zara said, joining them in front of Corey and Curtis. "It's not forgiveness," Maisie said, retrieving her medical pack. "It's my job." Here are some insights. It's hard to think about what could have happened if Jude hadn't saved the girls. Do you agree with his arrangement? Would you have done something similar? Do you think they needed to be punished more? Do you think they should have been killed? This is a situation, and there'll be more, where we kind of have to reflect on humanity. We are capable of horrific things, of horrific violence, but we are also still human. And we have to think about the value of human life. If somebody does something absolutely heinous, can they still be forgiven? Can they still repent and change? Now, forgiveness and trust are two different things. If somebody hurts your family, I don't think anybody would expect you to trust that person. But are you capable of forgiveness? Are you capable of treating that person as still a human being? Even if you can't trust them, even if they have to go to jail and stay in jail, if they're, a danger to society, uh, does every human have a right to seek forgiveness? Does every human have a right to live? And I know a lot of people will say, yes, unless they take that right away from somebody else, then they forfeit that right. Well, these are some of the things I want us to think about. What makes us human, even when we do things that are inhumane? I mean, does everybody deserve a chance to change? Even if they have to stay in prison and be kept away from society because they are a danger of what they could do, can they still be forgiven? Can they still change? Things to think about. We might run into some more situations where you have to really think about questions of not just mortality, but humanity and what it means to be human and be forgiven, and what you need to do to seek justice and safety, but also value human life.